Hello, we should be live and good to go. Welcome everybody to the January 2023 Composing Competition live stream. If you don't know what this event is, we put a call out over the month of January for people to take inspiration from this image by the artist Daniel Terrado and to compose a brand new piece of music up to 90 seconds in length as if this was the concept art for a video game. And we had somewhere over 450 submissions, and my team and I listened to those and got them down to 15 finalists. And we're going to present those 15 to our judges panel today. So before we get to that, I just want to mention there are some prizes. So thank you to Spitfire, BLEASS, and Loot for helping us out with some prizes today. For third place, we have the Little Bit and 8-bit generator from Loot Audio and the Dragonfly plugin from BLEASS. I'll cover our text here. For second place, we have the same package as well as the Alpha bundle from BLEASS. And then for first place, we have everything from before and the Omega bundle from BLEASS and the new Albion Colossus from Spitfire Audio. So thank you to all of them for helping us out today. So the way this is going to work is we're going to listen to the music, and behind the scenes, we have a spreadsheet where the judges will be ranking on composition, production value, and relevance to the image. So composition means things like melody, harmony, structure, just, you know, is it a good piece of music? Do we like how it's presented? Production value is, you know, is it well mixed? Are the sounds appropriate for the style? You know, is it just high production value? And then relevance to the image is, you know, does it feel like it belongs in this universe? If this really was the concept art for the game, am I playing this game? Am I in that world? So let me introduce our judges. Let's see, first we have Christopher Siu. Christopher Siu is a composer, arranger, and fellow YouTuber who has composed and orchestrated for artists including Tina Guo and Catherine Dern, David Wise, Stephen Mellon, Fox Chase, and Jonathan and Friends. While Chris has a passion for classic Disney and orchestral Nintendo scores, he also enjoys writing pop music, big band charts, and hip hop and R&B. He's dedicated to helping musicians find their voice and produce the music they've always dreamed of. You can download his free Orchestration Essentials Guide right on his website, christophersiu.com. And Chris has a new course out this week called Virtual Orchestration Mastery, and it's currently at an intro price until Friday at midnight. You can also find that at christophersiu.com. So Chris, thank you for joining us. Welcome back. All right, next we have Gavin. Gavin Leaper is a composer inspired by Japanese games and anime, a self-taught jazz musician and Japanese culture aficionado. Gavin is regarded as a YouTube expert on the music theory of Japanese video game music, anime music, and other contemporary Japanese genres. So Gavin, yokoso, yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And 8-bit, the creator of the 8-bit Music Theory YouTube channel, makes videos picking apart what makes our favorite video game music so great, using a mixture of technical music theory analysis and broad musical observations. 8-bit aims to provide musical insights to beginners and experts alike. So welcome, 8-bit. I'll let you know you are in the you're in the music theory chair of the judges panel.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, good.
You know, people will be expecting a certain level of, you know, overthinking, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh, pressure's on.
Yep.
All right, are you guys ready to hear some music?
Let's do it.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
So there are 15. We shuffled the 15 in random order. There's no particular, you know, reason for one over another. The first one we have is from Dave Singer. Put up his name here. And it is the Grand Prix Terrado. So if you guys could mute your mics, and then
Yes.
we should be good to go.
Welcome to Terrado Race! Are you ready? Ready, set, go!
What a
and being a
start.
game, it loops forever. Many of these will end with a loop.
Okay.
Mm.
Nice.
Who wants to go first?
I think we should let Ivey do the honors. I think you're muted, Ned.
Hayden.
How do I make the thing go? I feel I can't figure out how to put numbers into this spreadsheet too. Hold on. I'm a real...
You can just, we try to keep them, just so people know, the numbers we kind of keep behind the scenes, because this is meant to just be fun and lighthearted, and we don't want to like pit people against each other and be like, but I would have given that a 3 or whatever. So if you are one of the finalists and you want to know your scores, feel free to DM me on Discord, Twitter, send me an email, or whatever.
So I didn't mean to show our hand. That's my bad.
Right. No, it's good.
It's all good.
No, people know that they're there. So all right, Chris, you're in the first slot. So
Sure, I can.
You gotta
go. Yeah. I mean, overall, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but as the first track to listen to, I think it was the perfect starting point.
Yeah.
With the announcer and everything, and yeah, actually, overall, I mean, it probably sounds even better when it's not live streamed, but I think the sound quality and production is like super, super solid overall. Everything had a really cohesive feel to it. The beats were really well mixed as well. So everything just, sounded super smooth. Really deliberate choices in the arrangement. Really great use of those, electronic synthetic sounds, of course. And the overall chord progression as well, super diatonic for the most part. One thing I really, really liked was, I think it was just before the time signature change. In the key of D minor, he goes like A minor, so natural minor, then he rises up to that C sharp with that swell just before we hit that D minor chord on the tonic. It's like such a smooth transition, and it like really establishes that shift over to the next section, which works really well in this case. And then the announcer's voice was just the icing on the cake for me, but overall super, super solid start.
Yeah, really, really solid. And I agree. It was like a great opening fanfare for our stream in general. Especially the start really reminded me of like the pod racing in episode 1, like Star Wars episode 1. And I thought that was super fitting to kind of like call that in. I'm not sure if that was exactly intended as a direct reference, but I was really reminded of that sort of march thing that's done in that scene. Yeah, really, really cool. And I was hearing I was going to comment on that time signature change as being a really cool element to include in a piece like this.
Yeah, it was not intentionally the first one. It was random order. But...
Oh, really?
Worked out perfectly.
Yeah, we lucked out.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I liked a couple things. I liked the intro. Christopher already talked about it, but the intro, like the way it moves into the main part of the piece worked really well, and obviously the announce and everything was very fun and very relevant to the theme. I liked also the genre fusion, I guess, of like kind of like big orchestral brass choir and then also like EDM beat thing was a cool combination. I think I'm going to try and be critical of all of these too. I think the intro, so if you think of the intro, the way it's phrased is not just like 4 bars, 4 bars, 4 bars. He has a little extra, a couple extra bars that kind of draw, like to build the anticipation going into the main part. I thought that worked wonderfully. I think the time signature changes in the main part felt like they were just there to have time signature changes there. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it didn't really go with the like EDM dance beat groove thing. It kind of worked against the groove. But
how do you think that would work in game? Would that keep you on your toes, or would that more throw you off your groove?
I think that it would make you notice the music, which you don't necessarily want to happen in a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas like the intro, it wasn't a time signature change, but like the odd phrasing in the intro served a purpose that was very clear and was very effective. So I think that's like kind of an example of like doing that kind of thing really well, and then an example of like maybe you didn't need to do that in the main part. Sorry if that's too critical.
No,
That's open season.
We need a little bit more. Like if I'm going to be critical, I think my main thing was also like for my taste, the mix was like really smashed. It was really limited, which I think is a like that's a balance you need to toe when you have a mix of these genres, right? Like you have one where you really want that breadth and that like that sense of dynamics, and then one where you really don't, right? So I think it's I'm not sure exactly. I personally might have chosen a little more dynamic range, but you know that one's really up to the composer, I would say, right?
Yeah. And if I had to add anything, I'd probably say if the announcer, I think like the first couple seconds, the novelty was like super, super fun. I think we only really needed maybe just like one or two of those sentences. I think maybe there were just a couple too many words there, but overall, it was super fun. And people are also mentioning like the fade outs and stuff. And I think this is something we'll try to probably keep in mind too. Like having the fade outs and the loops are probably more, I guess, faithful to what video game music is like. But for the sake of the competition, I guess other people will probably go with more hard cuts as well. So I guess for us, it'll probably just be looking at what suits the piece the best in the specific situation. But
there's some tricky things to balance here because it's a little bit of an artificial scenario. Like,
Yeah.
we're just listening to the music, so it's like, is it good for a game? Well, does it really matter?
Right.
Because it's not really a game. You know, it's
Slash like,
kind of
is
all
it
over the
for the gameplay loop or is it for a cutscene which
Yes.
is linear?
right.
yes.
Yeah,
is it
it's
meant
just
to
all
loop?
kind of open to. It's pretty loose. Ben, are you good on the spreadsheet?
I have a spreadsheet. I'm not sure if like you're supposed to be seeing my
Alright.
numbers come up on your end.
I should be seeing them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's good.
because I just downloaded it.
Well,
I can't. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
if
hold
you,
on. Oh, how do you?
there's a tab for you.
Give me a sec.
or even just on the page.
Did I figure it out? Hold on.
There
Quick,
it is.
type
Get ready for the
something.
next for the next track.
There we go. There we go.
Is it?
Yeah.
is
We
it
see it. We
coming?
see it. Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay. Now we're gonna go with a cool and out of this world race. Let's tweak that. I threw these on at the last minute. Cool and out of this world race from Jakin and Ivey. So we're gonna mute and we'll be good to go. Here we go. Track number 2.
Damn.
Okay.
It's very
So to
Super
go in
Mario
order, how about
Galaxy.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Let's go.
Mm.
Some of the comments said that as well.
Uh,
Gavin, how about you go first so we
yeah,
go in
yeah.
order?
Switch it up.
Oh,
Maybe take it
perfect.
first next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I think this was interesting. Like in terms of relevance, I feel like this is a different interpretation of like the mood of the race. This is a very friendly race.
Yeah.
You know, which is a little different from like how I like the previous one, like kind of that pod racer one is more like, yo, there's some stuff at stake here. Not everybody likes each other here. And for me, like that was more my interpretation of this image. Like these two don't seem to, at least the yellow vehicle does not seem to be buddies with the red vehicle.
He's like glaring at him.
Yeah. So I kind of docked it a little bit on the relevance front toward that. That said, as a Super Mario Galaxy type of piece, I think it's pretty successful. Yeah. And the two of you are more enthusiast on that style, so I'll give you the floor on that. I yield my time.
Yeah, no, totally. Like the melody was very just like immediately evocative of that style, and like a strong melody. The structure of the piece was very in line with those games, and yeah, as a Super Mario Galaxy tune, it did its job for sure. I think it's like it's a big ask to say like write a melody that's as good as a Super Mario Galaxy melody. So it's like there's probably, I would have to listen to it again, but there's probably some melodic like moves that would take more refining or something. But as far, yeah, I think it was a totally good. And I'm not an orchestration expert, at least like I'm probably the least knowledgeable here about orchestration, but the orchestration seemed cool to me.
Yeah, I guess I'll quickly go. Yeah, so totally agree on what these guys are saying, and a couple things stuck out to me personally for the melody. First of all, especially in the A section, super catchy. Like it came back around at the very end, so it's like ABA, I'm assuming at least, and there's probably more to it as well, but really nice like use of syncopation there and all of that stuff, and also some really nice modal mixture I think happening in there too with the we're B flat majors, so we get that D flat chord, that kind of flat 3, and then there was also the flat 7 that came in. So this great liberal use of all these different devices that just added this spice and color throughout. And also in the orchestration, I think it was actually really well produced and mixed as well. The only thing that stuck out was the trumpets near the very beginning sounded slightly sampley to me, probably because they were touched too close in the mix. So I probably add a dash of reverb or choose a mic position that's slightly further back, maybe the trees or the overheads or something. But overall, I think in general, the overall vibe was super cohesive. Everything just blended together, and it definitely gave you that energetic Galaxy vibe for sure.
I heard the Galaxy thing too. I think a lot of people did. I guess that it was that style. Do you think the syncopation is part of that? Like, what made everybody be like, oh yeah, Mario Galaxy?
Partially syncopation and partially
right,
like clarity, melodic clarity. It's like that's clearly the focus, and then it's like a phrase, and then an answering phrase, and there's a very strong, through line through it.
Yeah,
it's a huge. I think it's a huge compliment if everyone thinks your piece sounds like Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
right.
For sure.
Cool. Any other thoughts before we go on?
The relevance question is interesting, actually, Gavin, like we were saying, because I was struck by that too a little bit, like, oh, that's totally not the direction I would have gone from this image. And then I was thinking like, oh, well, that's like, do you dock points for them having a different thing than what you would have done? But then you're right, like you justified you made your case well. That like, yeah, it seems a little friendlier than the image. But it is an interesting.
I mean, it's all as music theorists, we're all waving our hands to describe our subjective experience. Right?
Absolutely.
So it feels fitting to continue doing so here. But yeah, like you said, it really. I could imagine the same image done in like a slightly, just like pop that thing into Midjourney and it's like, this but Mario style, then it would fit, right?
Well, next we have the Aggressor from Ras Munch. The titles always get you wondering too.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to mute and we'll be ready for track 3.
Damn.
Okay, Ivey, you're first this time. I think.
Sick.
Yeah. That was
You're muted.
Muted.
Ben is muted again. No.
What? How? What? That was like. At first, I was like, "Oh, this is like Metroid Prime meets movie trailers." And then when the drop came, I was like, "Oh no, it's Doom!" That was really cool. I think. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of. It was a really effective like build up and drop. I don't know what you call it, technique, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Really good, smooth build up from nothing, and then let me think of something critical to say too. All right, I'll think of something critical to say while you guys talk.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I can quickly go. When we were listening, I think the first thing that popped up in my head was like, this composer is a really good producer. Like they mastered the sound design. They knew exactly what beats they were going for, and everything was just super well processed. And even through this live stream, you can hear the quality of the overall track is like spot on. I think for me, like, because this is just like an image, I felt it was just lacking a tad of melody. I don't know, maybe maybe it was your intention to maybe focus a lot more on the sound design and have all the production elements stand out. But in terms of the racing aspect, like, they're kind of staring at each other intently. They want that energy. So I kind of want to hear even more of a melodic fragment there, something to really just have us hook into the scene and bring us into what's actually happening in the action. But that's just a little, minor nitpick there.
Yeah, when I heard that intro, I was thinking Animals as Leaders because I'm like a big prog metal fan, and I was really satisfied when it did at least go like pretty heavy. Like the energy was big, and I liked that. I personally would have loved for it to go like even more in that direction. But regardless, I think like one thing, even if you're staying in this sort of more electronic or like movie trailer style, one thing that you could take from that, like, it's not necessarily like, oh, you need a drum kit with a double kick pedal and stuff, but I think that I could have used a little more variation in the drum pattern to like turn the phrases around, like some more fills. I think would have been strong musically. Even when I was listening to it, I was doing like a couple air fills. But yeah, that's like my main critique. But kind of as Chris was saying, the sound design, and especially like also doing a couple of sound effects really helped me like be on the race course.
Yeah.
I thought that was super effective.
Yeah, it was great.
You had time, man. You had time.
So you're right. The drum thing was it is very nitpicky, I think. But when the drop comes and you get the beat and you want it to be huge and heavy, making it like a halftime or like quarter time even, or whatever it would be, is like very, very spacey. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But I would have liked to have been indulged with a busier, heavier drum part maybe.
Well, drawing from that metal sphere, like save that as a breakdown. Come in first, like guns blazing a little bit more.
Totally, especially coming out of such a big, anticipation building thing.
Right.
You could have you earned giving us a lot. Sometimes it's like you're giving us too much at once for young composers or whatever. But
that's great.
You definitely earned some indulgence.
Definitely.
Right, we got a lot of music, so let's go on to track 4. Next we have ColdGas from Phil V. I'm gonna mute. We can.
Okay, that's
Different
my kind of
era.
track right there. That was pretty sick.
It's dope.
So, yeah, someone in the comments literally just said "So Sega," and while I was listening to it, I was like, "That is like Sonic Adventures right there, or something like World 1, Green Hill Zone sort of thing." And yeah, overall, just super melodic. Love the sound design as well. Can I just quickly point out how much variety there is stylistically already, and it's just 4 tracks in, it's amazing. But I hope Gavin and Ben, you guys will back me up on this, but that little Picardy third in the middle there, that was something special. That little B major chord. And also yeah, and then near the very end, I think they were in the key of D, so the B flat major chord at the very, the flat 6 there, that was really spicy too, just before the finish. That was really nice. Yeah, I think this one struck a really good balance of keeping things simple in terms of chord progressions and melody, but then adding just that hint of spice that just throws you off, and it's like, okay, I see what you're doing there, and that was really nice. I'm right for this one. I'm hard pressed to find a critique right now, but if you guys want to go, that
yeah, maybe it'll jog your criticism.
Yeah.
Back on the sort of interpretation question, this and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this too, but like this reminded me a little of like it's so much more melodic than some of the previous examples that were trying to go for that kind of like dark competition theme. But this reminded me more of like, if you think of like battle music and Octopath Traveler, like it's still a battle, but it's a much more melodic interpretation of it. And it's like, you gotta get on the dance floor and like beat it. I don't know, and it's just like an interesting stylistic choice to take it in that very melodic direction instead of just like, like Avengers basically,
Yeah, I think like, I don't know, for me, I'm trying to look for like, how does the music change my perception of the picture, whereas if it totally didn't fit at all, it'd be like, this doesn't match. But yeah, like the last 2 examples, especially compared to one another, the previous one, you totally get the sense of like, oh yeah, this is intense, and like these people are in a fight for their lives. And then this one, it's like, oh no, yeah, this could be like NES box art for a Tron-esque game. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be, there's nothing about the art that's really, really saying like, no, people are going to bleed, I did like, just to kind of echo what Christopher was saying, like, it was very compositionally simple, not in a bad way though, like, very, using kind of common tools, I would say, but melodic. But then, yeah, like just having at the end of sections, at the end of phrases, the little pickety third that like totally pushed you into the next section, or like at the very end, I feel like it was very smart about where the cool moments were sprinkled in, just to like, because when you're getting to the end of a section, especially with a melodic piece of music, you're already kind of thinking like, okay, I know how this is going to end. And so putting a twist in the right place like that adds a lot to a piece, I think.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of miss that era with the box art. Just had like nothing to do with the little pixels.
That's right.
It's just like, it's totally different.
Right. Like if you really use your imagination, this is what they might look like.
Right.
All right. Next we have The Race from Ferenc Bátri. Remember to mute.
Cool. I'll kick us off.
Okay.
Yeah, this one, per what I was saying earlier, I felt a much more like Western contemporary cinematic style from this. Like, if you asked me to hum how this song goes, I wouldn't know how to. Like it goes blah, and then and like there's not, it's melodicism, like melody is not the pulse of this in the way that it really was on the last one. So that's less my aesthetic choices generally, or like what I'm going for. But I think depending on kind of the brief and who you're working with, it might be part of theirs. So again, don't know how to rate it except by my own preferences, right?
I agree. I'm also melody pilled, so to speak. But if you're thinking about this, like if you're writing this for a video game, if you're supposed to be racing to this music, not having a melody, you could make a case that not having a melody helps the music blend into the whole experience. And that's definitely the trend with modern games, But then I think you would need to have, like, because the music still is very much attention grabbing in other ways. But I could totally see this kind of thing working as like a dynamic piece where like all those elements, if they were set up to trigger at different parts of the race or whatever based on your actions as a player, I feel like it could work really, really well as game music. But then, obviously that's not how we're experiencing the music right now. So it is kind of a tough one for me to rate too.
Sure. Like
the production was really good.
Like you knock down, like there's an avalanche that you trigger, and now there's ice rolling all around. Now there's a new percussion layer.
Yeah. Or a wah comes in then. Like it could really, really augment the experience of the game. But again, like that's a whole other, probably someone else's job to make that happen out of this music too. So. Yeah, I was really impressed with the production. Again, I'm not like a production guy, so I'll let you guys talk more on that. But I thought it sounded really clean and professional, and there was lots of cool, like, I noticed just one like glass shattering sound effect on one kind of like big hit where I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, to piggyback off that, like, you totally don't need to be a production expert to know that all the productions across the board so far have been pretty solid. I think we'd agree that the production quality is, I think from all the competitions we've seen so far, it's just getting like better and better, and everyone's just stepping up their game, which is so cool. But it's so cool you guys mentioned how it might fit in a video game, because as I was listening to this, the first thing that came to mind was I could totally see this in an action scene in a film. And I was like, that would make sense, because we don't want the music distracting the listener. As the music was going on, the pulsations were happening. It's like, okay, how fast are they going? Like, what are they gonna overtake one another, etc. So I definitely think this track works better as a film score or in the background of a film scene instead of maybe a game. But like you guys were saying, maybe if you had specific actions they were taking, etc. Also, it might be just me, but the intro part before the drop really reminded me of Donkey Kong Country for some reason. It was just like these like super warm dark chords when they're in the caves and they're kind of just like walking around. You get these little droplets here and there. So I was like really getting that vibe, and then it transitioned over. I was like, okay, now we're getting into the real good stuff.
Right.
Yeah. For the film thing, I definitely heard some Danny Elfman influence. I guess that certain, I think with the brass in particular, kind of made me feel Elfman-y. All right. Let's go to Hyperspeed by Robin Offringa. Remember to mute.
Dang.
Tight.
Damn. That was great.
That was awesome. Yeah.
I'll kick us off since it's my turn. Yeah, that I think was I don't know, that was really fun to listen to.
Yeah.
I loved I think that was the strongest melody I've heard so far. Which I really appreciate. And for my criticism is I want to like say I think that was the strongest melody I've heard so far today. But then also I think you could make it even stronger by cutting out like 10% of the notes of the melody, you know. I feel like the melody game is very like sculpting.
Yeah.
We keep taking away and taking away and taking away until it's this perfect thing. And it's like, because it was so good, I could see how it was almost like even better. You know what I mean? So that I have a compliment criticism hybrid there.
Well, Ben, just to quickly clarify, when you say like the strongest theme, do you mean as in it sticks with you the most? Is that what you're saying? Or is it more like it's like maybe crafted the best in a certain...
I think crafted the best because see, the thing with melodies that I find super challenging is trying to strike this balance where it is not too complicated. There's not too much going on. Like all the great melodies are very simple in a way. But then also, like when I try and write a melody, it sounds so stupid all the time. You know what I mean? Like you try and write like a simple, pure melody and it just sounds really dumb. And so this was like one where it had that element of like simplicity without feeling dumb, where it was that, who was it? I can't remember who the quote is from. Some very, very old composer said, a great melody has something that the whole world already knows. And I always think about that.
Nice.
So I was like, yeah, I'm hearing it for the first time and it doesn't feel like I'm hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
It has that kind of quality to it, which, you know, maybe that's just me, but I dug it.
Totally.
What you got, Chris?
Oh, is it me? Yeah, sorry. Just lost track of everything. Yeah, like I definitely agree that this had a very, very strong theme overall, and it was definitely you can tell this composer intended it as the front and center sort of element there. Well, what I found really interesting though was like, especially when the theme was going on, there were a lot of these arpeggiated things happening just underneath, kind of in the high mid range. And a lot of those actually had some dissonance with the melody too. And that's that, to borrow 8-Bit's term of a complimentary critique, maybe, that could probably be something that you could see as, okay, that's a really interesting twist here and there, because everything did eventually lead back to the tonic, right? But while it's happening, you kind of hear, I think there was like an A in the melody, while there was like an F, like F, B flat, C sort of thing happening there. So there's a little bit of clash there. It's like it's like an F sus4 chord with an A in the melody. There was a little bit of clashiness, but it kind of worked in a weird way to me. And I think at the end, everything just melded together so beautifully when we ended on that last A major chord. So there was really nothing wrong with doing what you did. I think it's just a really interesting touch, and it kind of kept us on our toes harmonically, because there were certain points I was like, oh, what chord is he using there? Like, that sounds really interesting. And just couldn't place my hands on it because of all those little mixtures, but it was really nice.
Is that the Eric Whitaker chord? F, A, B flat, C? Yeah.
Okay.
Like he adds the 4, like the no from jazz school.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's how you get stank face, though, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta go for that stank face.
I mean, lovely. Yeah, I hope to use that chord someday. My one note is that I write little notes next to my numbers. I say needs jungle breaks! ! Like I really wanted to turn it around. You know, like, I think that would really add to the drive of it. So if I were in the control room, I'd say, here's a sample pack, add these. I also could have used a little bit, like I really liked that breakdown in the middle there. Some more consideration might be given to how we get to and get out of that breakdown, and how long we spend there. Just because the A theme was like so strong. Those are my 2 notes.
Are we ready for the next one then?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right. Rough Around the Edges from Alec Love.
What was that last chord? Like I have no idea what that I was gonna say, like that's one way to end a track. That's a tough one. Yeah, I'll just quickly go. I think this is maybe the sort of track that I'm envisioning when I see the picture, something sort of sci-fi, electronic, like super out there. Because there, in the picture, in the prompt, there really are no traditional like organic elements to me that are being suggested. It's all like spacey sort of stuff. So that's kind of what I heard, and I really appreciated that. But the one thing I wanted to commend this composer on was also the fact that we had this like D bass, like pedal tone, and then this continuous like rise up to the G sharp back down. So that tritone continued to just pulsate up and down and give us that intensity, that slight like, ooh, what's about to happen? That's really like, bad things are happening or intense things are happening. And but then I think also the pulse was the main driver here as well. So everything really followed that, and not that much melodic content. It was mainly just driving. And again, to me, that sort of evokes that sort of film score type of feel to it, where we're really focusing on what's happening on screen. But those are kind of my main little observations there.
Yeah, I think that like this, for me, so far out of the submissions, this is the one that left the most space in the mix for sound design, like for there to be, especially in the beginning where it was like pretty much just that bass line. There's so much room for, acceleration and zap sounds and like I could hear that, and that really helped kind of put me in the space. So I thought that was a really strong aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. Sound design was great. There's lots of like, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Even if it's just like a little static sound on top or whatever, it's just it's nice. It very I feel like it really got what it was going for.
Yes.
Very vibey. Again, not really. Well, I don't know. I guess the melody is that kind of bass ostinato-y figure.
Right.
Doom riff, all those kinds of riffs remind me of Doom. But and it was a good, like, it had the right vibe, and it didn't overstay its like, I didn't get tired of it by the time the thing was done. It was a good repeatable riff. But yeah, like you were saying, definitely a film score kind of
right
vibe.
Let's have
This one had me
3.
thinking.
Go ahead.
This one had me thinking how interesting it is how even within the constraints there are like infinite variations on how to do this. Like they're so different. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
I will say, I think all the pod, whatever they are, racing machines being like different rainbow colors it's not, this is not a dystopian. I mean, it could be, but I think there is room for like a lighthearted melodic track.
That's
here
true.
too.
They look clean and fresh, new bikes.
Yeah.
Right. There's no battle damage.
Yeah.
Although there's a guy wiping
This could
out
be
at
like
the
the wealthy overlords provided them with the bikes. We don't know.
right, true.
True.
This is like a Hunger Games situation. But
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, the next one we have is called Frozen Hoverbike Race. It's from K. Alex Hatton. Ready to go? Speaking of doing things differently, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding, eh?
Yeah, another different interpretation. Yeah, I quite liked this compositionally. I think to cut to I do have a critique of it from the production side actually. Look, who would have thought a comment that's not about the notes? I think that a little more there could have been a more attention to detail on making these disparate elements sound like they're in the same space. Because for me, it sounded like it felt like the strings were recorded in one room, the drums were recorded in a different room, and basically reverb bus, make sure to share that between your elements so that things glue together a little bit better, because it didn't feel super cohesive to me.
I really like the compositional part of it, as far as that kind of descending line over bass pedal idea. I know, like at the beginning there was the flat 7/6, flat 6/5 thing, and I really dug moving to the flat 6 while there's another voice, I think, that went up to the 9 and having that I guess tritone in there. That caught my attention. I was like, "Ooh, that's nice." And the kind of riff towards the end that kind of expanded on that idea, whereas again, kind of a chromatic descending line. It wasn't the exact same line, but it was like a development of the same kind of idea. I thought it was really well put together in that way. I will say, yeah, I think if you're gonna have rock drums and strings together, you really have to be careful about it to make it sound natural, make it sound like you're not, like it's not two different things that you're trying to smush together. but overall, yeah.
I feel like the way that they get around that, at least in the anime context, is making the strings recording super dry. Like that's why Tokyo Scoring Strings is so dry, because then you don't have to worry about the space that the strings are in. You just put them wherever the drums are.
Right. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, Chris might have some thoughts there.
Sorry.
No, I mean, Tokyo Scoring Strings is a perfect example. Yeah, like very, very dry library, and it makes a lot of sense to exactly what you guys are saying. And I was actually going to ask you guys that question, like, what would you do differently in terms of like the placement and stuff? Because the rock kit is kind of that supporting element. Even if it was a little bit further back in the hall, that would make a lot of sense still, because then image-wise, it almost shows the strings as being like the primary driver of the piece, if you will, with everything else kind of supporting in the back. So picking up on what 8-Bit also said, that descending little chromatic line at the end and the strings was super, super cool. And I believe this is the first track that we've heard with an orchestral lead. I could be wrong, but I feel like in terms of the organics, this composer Alex kind of took advantage of that hybrid approach. And I actually think the spiccato samples were really well done. And if you told me it was a live recording, I would have believed you. Maybe there were some like slight repetitions that sounded like they were kind of machine gunny with the lack of round robins, but that's also possible that, it's the live stream too. But overall, like super well composed. And I also think the drums maybe could have been pushed slightly further back just to show the strings a bit more. But overall, it blended together pretty decently, in my opinion. So, yeah.
There's something in the very beginning, and it was hard to remember. Very beginning of the track reminded me of like the Divine Beasts or something. There was this kind of like this multi-texture thing going on. It was cool. Maybe I just hear that everywhere. All right, we have Game Time from Ryan Murphy.
Is it mine? Yeah, it's mine.
So,
the ending got me. That was a good ending. I like definite racy vibes. I don't know what it is about that synth sound that he's using on the melody, but it just immediately like, oh yeah, this is a space race.
Yes.
I will say I think harmonically there could have been more direction. Like maybe this is my own taste, but I think a very judicious use of the one chord is often called for, where like you don't want to just be putting it in the middle of a phrase and kill all the momentum, all the harmonic momentum. But overall, cool tune. Nice little riff, Bump, 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 bump. Yeah. Very like what's that song? Shoot. I don't know. Like the Six Flags song or something,
Yeah, I was gonna comment on that. Like whenever I hear like the 3-3-2 subdivision trope, like the prog metal enthusiast in me is like, tie over the bar line, buddy. Like I wanted some section where we ride out the full like polymetric thing, because if you don't do that, it's a pop song. If you do that, it's a prog song.
But if you're going for the like arena, hype up the crowd vibe, that's, I think it was probably the right call. And the ending was cool rhythmically.
For sure. Yeah, and maybe it depends on the aesthetic goals, but yeah, there was a prog nerd in me that's like, nah, you really should have made it a Meshuggah song.
I get that.
Definitely on the simpler side harmonically, I guess. Yeah, like I think it was just basically 1-6-7-1 a couple of times, but overall, I felt there was more room then left up to the arrangement and the mix to do the rest, basically. And compared to some of the other ones, this mix actually felt more full than some of the other ones, possibly to the point of being slightly overbearing. But I couldn't tell you right now like which element I would take out or maybe pull down. But I think because it's constantly in your face all the time, it might feel a tad fatiguing over the course of a longer run. So maybe that's where some more harmonic interest or melodic variation could also come into play there. But as a 30-second cue, I think it can serve its purpose pretty well. So
menu music.
yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, let's go to Ice Race from Isaac Ruisu.
Wow. Yeah, I know it's my turn, but I was just kind of listening and enjoying the whole time. I feel like you guys would have a lot more to say about this than I would. This is not really my my area, so I'll let you stick it away.
I think I chose this one for Gavin, probably.
Yeah. There you go.
That's what I get for hanging out for so many of these, huh?
There you
go. I appreciate this selection. I finally got my Meshuggah song.
There you go.
That was sick. That was really dope. And it was. I thought the glitching was really appropriate too. Like that was great touch. I would just go harder with it. If
even more.
Yeah, like add more. Like I said before, like add more. Like double kick fills that everyone goes or some couple of those. But I had a lot of fun listening to that one. So thanks for that one, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. I like I think so the production was very like I loved there's kind of like a motor E sound there, and then the fact that it sped up for the intro part. Like obviously that's great thematically for the whole race thing. But also people really rarely mess with like speeding up or slowing down a piece of music, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it worked super well. I was super into that. compositionally, if you're just thinking like chords and melody, there were not really any surprises. It kind of set the tone early and then just did that the whole time. And every time I thought like, oh, is that going to come next? Yeah, it did come next. So that'd be my criticism, is you could, try and give me a little twist here and there. And then my compliment sandwich final nice thing is that the production, there were tons of surprises, the glitching out and the speeding up and everything. There are tons of moments where you're caught off guard by the production. So that could just be, like the style of the genre.
Right.
But
yeah, like every time I thought like I caught on to like, oh, he's gonna use this sound next. Okay, that's pretty cool. Just threw us for a loop, and I was like, okay, well, never mind. he's got us on his finger.
Yeah.
I thought that my connection cut a couple times. But then it was part of the
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Bold
Yeah.
move to use on a live streamed thing. Everyone's like,
Right.
"Wait, what is that?"
That's all meta. All planned.
All right. Next we have Blazing Blizzard from 3D Square.
That's pretty
Oh,
sick.
that's great.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's great.
I feel like this one should be 8 bits.
Yes. Yes.
See, that's exactly what I meant by like harmonic melodic surprises.
Yes,
Where you're
yes.
like, this is totally in the style of a whatever EDM synth driven kind of thing. But there's like every 4 bars is like, what? You're
Yeah.
going there? What? You're doing that? That was just awesome. That kind of thing gets me so hyped up.
Absolutely.
And I love the for the relevance factor, the like, there's the like ding 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 bing whatever. Like just a little thing like that where you're like, oh yeah, that's such a fun racy choice to make.
Yeah.
And of course the like 3 2 1 go at towards the end too. Yeah. I really dug that.
Is it you, Gavin? Or is it?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It is now.
It is now. Yeah. The first thing I was thinking is just like this composer is, I think, really comfortable writing in this style, or at least producing in this style. Like it sounds like it could fit in the game so easily, whatever the game might be. Super well produced, really well mixed in my opinion. As Ben mentioned, the occasional like harmonic changes kind of threw me off guard. There's the occasional secondary dominant, the occasional like 2-5-1 in there. Just it was hard to try to pay attention to the details because the whole experience was just that fun, So it was a blast for sure.
8-bit, I was actually reminded of your video on demaking Mega Man. Like that it'd be interesting to hear like a demake of this where we're like strictly using tracker
Right.
constraints, because it's
Yeah,
already
yeah,
so
yeah.
close, and it'd be interesting to see like if there's stuff that comes out of that. What's the full like restricted tracker version of this song? Because I think it could work.
Totally. I could see it.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Nice. Well, we ready for number 12?
Let's go.
Shredding on the Ice Planet from Ryan Lombard.
Man.
Well, that was different.
I feel like I can't unbiasedly judge this piece because it reminds me too much of My Chemical Romance. It like just took me right back to high school. You know?
So good.
That's awesome.
Was that live
I
guitar?
think you are first, though.
Am I first?
I think so.
Oh,
I guess
sorry.
I relinquished my turn last time.
Well, then I will. I love the harmonized guitar lead. Just like immediately, that's totally and like compositionally awesome. So cool. Very like I don't know. Very it has that My Chemical Romance thing where it's accessible. It's not like, oh, you only like this because you're a jazz nerd. But then there's like so much extra spice making it interesting and like leading you from thing to thing. And anytime there's harmonized guitars, that's just like super hype always. The bridge section was like kind of a departure from the style, like a drastic departure from the style in a way that maybe was too drastic. If I have to come up with a criticism, but overall, that was very, very fun to listen to.
Chris?
Oh, yeah. So, yes, I think the overall track was, it definitely brought me back to me listening to Marianas Trench on repeat, Headley as well. Just like classic. But I also was thinking this in terms of video games, the composition could fit into so many genres. I think like at some point I was thinking Sonic, at some point I was thinking Pokemon, and there was just so much going on in a really nice way. And while to me it might not have been the most like quote unquote relevant to the picture, it's not the first instrumental choice I would have thought of. But overall, I think the piece definitely stands on its own. And if those guitars were live, you could definitely tell because it really just sang with musicality and intensity. And this is, I actually, out of all the scores, I think this is the highest one I marked in terms of composition. So I really, really enjoyed it, and tons of 6/7 ones in there, and lots of chromatic movement in the bass. Just it's like in the best way I mean this, but it's like my sort of musical wet dream. So I really liked it.
Nice.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
Yeah, we need some of those.
There's a little bit
Yeah.
of, I think, know your audience kind of thing with like the 6-7 ones and things. that are,
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
That we would all be like, oh, that's a video game reference. You know, like we
Yeah,
get.
exactly.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, completely.
All right.
Yeah, nice
Oh,
job.
sorry.
That's it. Let's keep going.
Let's keep
All right.
Move it along. Come on.
Come on. All right, Gavin, whatever.
Sorry, I thought you went. I don't know.
No, it's all
Did you
good,
have
man.
more? You good? Okay. All right. How do you pronounce this name? Zhao Shen brings us Glacial Pursuit.
Nice. Is it Mike?
Is it me?
I think it's Gavin.
I don't know.
Go Gavin.
Okay.
Go Gavin. Go Gavin.
Go ahead,
Cool.
Gavin.
I'll go. Yeah, cool stuff. I had fun with that sort of stylistically going for, I don't know how to that sort of Phrygian palette, Hungarian Arabian. Like you use, there's all sorts of lands that type of scale hails from. Yeah, like inter desert level kind of deal.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite cool. I heard little bits of hinting at like little triplet feel things. And when it somewhat felt like those were unfulfilled or unrealized seeds that I wanted it to switch to, everyone goes or something like that. That's my only compositional note. And I think actually some rhythmic variation could have helped because it was very like driving. And it ended up being slightly samey for me by the end, that we're still kind of doing that like, yeah, we're playing all the 16th notes, baby, kind of feel. Yeah, that's my main critique, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd second that. It was cool because my first thought when hearing that kind of like, harmonic, melodic, that scale, I was like, this is a desert world scale. What are you doing? But then like combined, like the production from the beginning was very glacial, lots of like icy sounds, which I don't know what that even means really, but that's the vibe I got. Like, oh, maybe that's because there's a lot of similarities between like a tundra and a desert as far as livability. They're kind of opposites, I guess, but it was an interesting choice for sure.
Yeah, that the choice to go with this sort of flat 2 sound and really take that desert vibe into account was definitely makes this track stand out in a lot of ways. So I definitely commend you on that. And yeah, as Gavin was saying regarding the beat, I think like at a certain point, the second half, I was like, oh, is there going to be like a bigger drop? Like maybe I want to hear less of those pitter patters, and I just want to hear like boo boo, sort of thing.
Right.
And I was like, if that comes in, I'm gonna like just blow. I'm gonna explode. That'll be amazing. But super solid.
I could have used one more of the A section cranked up to 11 of just like
there we go.
The big.
Yeah,
I was kind of
Yeah.
expecting it, and then it was over. It was just like one more.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
you know,
Let's go.
bring it down.
Risers.
We have Inches Above the Ice from Alex Doty.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna jump in here and say that this could easily be like a Mario Kart 8 fusion sort of vibe. Yeah, and a quick thing before I forget. I think initially I was like at the very beginning, the drum kit was a tad tinny to me, but as soon as the drop hit, the drum suddenly beefed up and you had all that low, and I was like, okay, they like this is mixed well, like the support is there and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think the melody is actually super strong. I think what could enhance the whole piece a little bit more actually is finding slightly more harmonic footing though, because there's a lot of adventurous choices you're making here in the harmony. And at every certain point I was like, okay, I want to hear this chord progression come to a natural ending. You switched up on us, but that was like every 4 bars or so. And so I was like, okay, this is super adventurous, but I'm also feeling like a slightly unsettled because I want that landing. I want to stick the landing, and the beautiful thing though is because the melody is just one note at a time. You have so many choices of how you want to harmonize that one note, right? And I think you really took advantage of that, but maybe it's slightly to the extreme. So maybe just finding that main key center that you want to ultimately come to, and then maybe basing some of the other harmonic choices around that choice. Which just maybe lend a bit more cohesion to the overall thing. But the overall production, the theme was strong. The production was great. And yeah, that's just the first couple thoughts.
Yeah, it's such a fine, like, that's such a dance and such a balance of like where to add spice and where to hold back and like have a cadence and like, oh, by the way, we're in D flat or whatever Chris heard and I didn't, or like whatever. And then like there's the balance between that cementing in a key center, and we've had some submissions that don't have as many surprises as we would like harmonically, right? So yeah, fine balance to strike there. I think the comments were kind of celebrating this, but I think the sax was a great touch. If that was samples, it doesn't sound like it. Although I think like that particular style of playing would lend itself well to it would be sampleable. So I'd be curious to know. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I want just to piggyback on what both you guys said. The I feel like mean because there's been a couple pieces previously where I've celebrated the like twists and turns, and then this one like too many twists and turns, like. But it's not even that there's too many. It's that it's not just the fact that there's like something unexpected happening. It's like, and this is a huge ask. Obviously, this is very high level stuff. But like understanding what your listener thinks is going to happen and then twisting the expectation in a very intentional way. It's like really tough to explain, and I don't know that I could explain like, well, here's how you do it right. But it's one of those things where you just feel it when it's really great, and you don't feel it when it's not really great.
You could say, in order to surprise people, you have to make them expect something already.
Yeah,
So,
totally. There's just
if you're not expecting something,
enough
then not
to-
surprised.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the theme was really strong. I think maybe like I don't know. I want it to be a little more syncopated or something, or like very varied on a little, like because by the end of the tune, it was like still just like boom, 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 boom. And maybe it's just that we've had a lot of pieces use that rhythmic convention already, and bad luck, you're number 14 and 15. But I was kind of like, all right, let's get something else going on.
Yeah.
But
So Alex,
it is a very strong melody. I don't want to be too hard on the guy.
Alex in the chat says it is a human playing the sax.
There we go.
Right on.
Nice.
You can
And
tell.
Love to
Yeah.
see it.
And every so often, people are asking Chris, "How do you know what key that is?"
Yes. This is the only situation where perfect pitch actually helps. Everything else, it's it's useless.
Yeah.
Well, it's helpful for the rest of us who don't have it that you're available. We can be like, "What was that again?" What's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's helpful because then I see it on the piano when you say like, "Oh, it's this."
Oh,
this, and
okay.
this. Then I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, yeah."
Okay. I'm glad it's not 100% useless then.
No,
Good.
it's super helpful.
Cool.
All right, we've got one more.
Last
Yeah.
one.
Yay.
The last one is "Icy Wind" from Jonas Morenz. Let's go down to the bottom here. Who's up?
Yeah, wait, whose turn is it? We got all flipped around.
I think it's you.
Me?
I think so.
Go for it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
If something
Refreshing.
grooves really hard, does that go under composition or production?
Ooh. I would say probably production.
Yeah.
If I had to,
Okay.
for me
Well,
at
hold
least.
on. Let me bump up my production score.
Well, while David's doing that, can I just say that the inner nerd in me really loves that da, 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 just before that drop at the end. That for me, that was the highlight of the piece. Like that was the main standout. Because I think other than that, we had like the the traditional. Actually forget the chord progression now, but it's like something 5-1, and then we had the 7 come in and sub out for the 5 instead, and that was a nice little variation switch up there. But yeah, that little chromatic movement there was definitely caught me off guard for sure.
Yeah, good change up. I really liked that use of like that portamento, that synth, just really leaning into bending into some of the notes.
Mm.
And like that was juicy. I thought that was a great choice.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I'm just gonna have that like groove at the start stuck in my head all day now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? That's it.
That's it.
Were we ready?
We're good.
All right.
Sick.
So I need a moment to. I think we're all set on the spreadsheet, but I just need a moment to look it over, confirm the final rankings, the final scoring. So you guys have any tweaks to make your scores? Now would be the moment. So I'll remind everybody, third place gets the little bit and the 8-bit generator from Loot Audio and the Dragonfly plugin from Bliss. Hide our text here. Second place gets the Alpha bundle from Bliss and the Dragonfly plugin, as well as Loot Audio's 8-bit generator and little bit. And as you can see, the tiny little NES here, these are samples, I think like the original NES samples or an emulator of them. So very handy. And then first place gets all of the above and the Omega bundle as well from Bliss, and then the new Albion Colossus from Spitfire Audio. So if you guys could talk amongst yourselves for a moment while I look over the spreadsheet, that'd be great.
Great entries
everyone.
overall. 15
Very, very
great
good.
entries.
Yeah.
Super high level.
And I mean, for me personally, like, and Gavin, I hope we would maybe agree on this, but I think out of all the competitions that we've attended so far, at least for me, this has been one of, if not the most enjoyable, just because of the sheer variety of entries received, but also to the production value. And everyone is like, you can hear the effort and the hard work and just the sheer passion that goes into every submission. And it's so beautiful to see. And I ultimately, I think we have to thank Ryan for this, because these sort of events really push us and gives us that sort of motivation to strive towards making our music better in general. So
yeah,
really, really impressed.
Yeah, I'd echo that, both the gratitude, of course. This is such a treat every time we do it. And yeah, I think that the variety was really cool here. Like when we did that one that was kind of Studio Ghibli themed, it was just like, who can get that like 0.9, that the little percentile more that style than the other person, versus this had just like so many more angles to come in from, and I thought that was really fun. I mean, there's even a metal submission, like that's awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this one was a lot easier than last time, because everything was with the specific orchestra requirements from the last one, like 32 exact instruments, and that was hard. Everything was very similar.
Yes.
This felt just a lot smoother for some reason, but we are ready to announce the top three, and then
Wrap,
we'll
Gavin.
play
Come on.
the last one as our out.
Oh yeah.
Thank you everybody for joining us for this. It has been fun. Thank you, of course, to everyone who submitted. Let's see. I'll mention the honorary categories. So these are not prizes, but just in a specific spot. The highest score for composition went to Ryan Lombard, Shredding on the Ice Planet. Was the very guitar-heavy one. The highest score, just specifically in relevance, was a tie for ColdGas from Phil V and Glacial Pursuit from Shen. And then the highest score in production was Blazing Blizzard from 3D Square. So third place goes to Robin Offringa for Hyperspeed. Second place is Ryan Lombard, Shredding on the Ice Planet. And first place, the winner of our January 2023 composing competition, is Blazing Blizzard from 3D Square.
Congrats.
Congratulations. Thank you, Chris,
Congrats.
Gavin, and K-Bit for
Congrats.
being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for watching. Let's listen to 3D Square's track one more time, and
do
we'll
it.
see you guys for the next one.
Yes.
And if anyone wants to join in on these, I make an announcement. I guess the next one will be the April competition, which I will announce in March. Let's see. Where was it? Blazing Blizzard, 3D Square. Here we go.